Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Playeasy Warmup, the podcast where we dive into the stories, people, and places driving the sporting event and tourism industry forward. I'm your host, Kerri Shields. Today's episode is a really special one for me. I am joined by one of my former teammates at Boston College, Carolyn Swords. Carolyn is one of the most dominant players to ever come through Boston College. She scored over 2,000 points, had over 1,000 rebounds, and she is one of the best players I've ever had the pleasure of playing with. We played 2 years together at BC, and she went on to play 9 years in the WNBA for four different teams. And she, as good of a basketball player she is truly an even better human. I mean, I've been lucky enough to meet a ton of people throughout my playing career. And I have to say that she is definitely one of the most influential and has been one of the most influential people in my life, both personally, professionally, and just an incredible human. She is so accomplished. We talk about her playing career as well as everything that she's done outside, being a part of the WNBPA. She was a big part in the last collective bargaining agreement with the WNBA. She also spent years working on the product side of Nike. Just an incredible human who has once again not only just impacted my life, but everyone who's lucky enough to get to know her. And so I really hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Enjoy. Today's episode is sponsored by the Playeasy Innovator Summit, happening this summer, June 15th through 17th, 2026, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at the Vanguard Ann Arbor. The Innovator Summit is Playeasy's annual gathering of destination leaders, event organizers, and industry partners. 3 days of hands-on innovation, real conversations, and practical ideas you can bring back to your community. Ann Arbor is a city that knows sports and knows how to host. Just 20 minutes from the airport, it's easy to get to and get around, with top-tier sports facilities, a walkable downtown, and 400-plus restaurants perfect for connecting outside of sessions. Between meetings, take in the energy of the University of Michigan, explore the Huron River, and be sure to stay for a private tour of the Big House on our final evening together. If you're thinking about innovation, technology, and what's next for hosting, we'd love to see you in Ann Arbor this June. Carolyn, welcome to the Playeasy Warmup podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you.
It's always great to see you. Your face just puts a smile on my face always. And so I'm just so excited to have you here. I have to start off by saying we had dinner with you, two of my coworkers, Brenna and Sarah, almost 2 years ago in Portland when we were out there. And after that dinner and having them interact with you, they were like, she is one of the coolest people of all time. And so
Thank you.
we
Wow.
need to have her on the podcast. So I just needed to tell you that because I mean, I'm Karen, I'm always in awe of you, but to see two people I work very close with just as in awe was really cool. So I'm really excited for this conversation.
Wow. What an honor. Thank you so much. That's such a great story.
Yes, of course. I said, always your hype woman. But let's start from the beginning. How did you first get into sports and specifically basketball? And what was the path that led you to Boston College?
What a great question. I come from a very active family. I'm one of five, and we played any sport that was available to us. So whatever season it was, if there was a sport, we were playing it. And so we also did art, and I did Girl Scouts, but we were a very active family. So when I was old enough to sign up for basketball, it was just like, okay, and here's the next thing. And I loved it. It was fun to be on a court with my friends. I was having a great time. I also had really great youth coaches who recognized at my height, and I was always the tallest in my age group. So from the beginning, I'm a center, I'm a post player, and I had youth coaches who coached me how to do that. Like, how do you move on the floor, how to keep the ball high, how to work on catching, how to work on finishing, bend your knees when you shoot, all these things. And it was a lot of fun. We won a lot of games, but I also liked the opportunity to compete and play with my friends. I'd say in about 8th grade, there was like a bit of an intervention in my life where the adults around me were recognizing that basketball had this great potential to be a future and get me to college, and I could be very competitive in it. And my family, I think, our like dean of the 8th grade, my coaches, and one of my teammates and her parents, my teammate Sarah, they sat me down before one of our middle school games and talked about, like, "We think we should think about playing AAU this spring, and this could be a great opportunity. You're gonna play like, you'll play with Sarah, it'll be fun, you're gonna meet some new girls, and this is just a way to keep advancing," because I loved playing, I was enjoying the improvement, and wanted to keep playing, but in order to get to the next level, I needed a little more exposure and repetition outside of just basketball season. And I, thank goodness for their foresight, because I was just very in the moment, was like, but I want to play lacrosse. It's spring. you know, I like my lacrosse time. And they're like, okay, you can do both, but like, let's give this a try. And that is one of many examples of how the community in my life, like my family support, my coaches, and really the people around me, having this belief in me, maybe before I could understand or see it for myself, but also the long-term thinking of like, hey, if this is something we want to think about, then like let's make some decisions now. And that was incredible. I think that year or the next year, we went to the national tournament and I played with and against women, girls who are from all over the country. We lost every game, but it was so fun to come up against these like nationally sponsored AAU teams where these superstars from Arkansas were coming and we were playing against them, and just like the pace of play and their precision was really fun to try to come up against. And it was fun to try to raise my level of play. And even though we were losing, then there was that like, okay, and then we're exchanging
Yeah.
pins after. And that was one of the first times too that I saw from afar Elena Deladon was playing. And I remember my dad saying like, oh, she's like your height, but she plays like a guard. And I was like, wow, that would be really cool to like play against her someday. And my family then recognized like, oh, there's like a desire and a competitiveness and a wanting to challenge. And they, I think, kind of knew at that point, like, okay, this could not only objectively be great for a tall girl to try to play in college, but it seems like something that you really want to do. And also through that AAU team, went to Bill Gould's post player camp. He was at the post coach at BC, and learned exceptional footwork and skills from like Brooke Queenan and Lisa Macchia and Asia Parham, like these superstars at Boston College. And that led me to elite camp. So really this opportunity to see these tall, strong, exceptional women live and learn from them. And they were, teaching me how to be a better post player in high school. And then the opportunity to get on campus and learn more about BC and talk to the coaches, and because there were much stricter rules around when we could be talking to schools and everyone at that time. I was really excited about Kathy Inglis's plan for how to grow the program, having won the Big East and upset Ohio State in the NCAA tournament, and now in the ACC, was excited to be part of this force coming out of the Northeast to like build exceptional basketball. And yeah, I was just excited to play for her.
Amazing. And in preparation for this conversation, it obviously brought me back a lot to just that time and the influence that you've had on my life. And truly, I'm not just saying this, you've probably been one of the most influential people, because I think
Oh my
you're
God.
one of the main reasons that I went to BC. I remember visiting my junior year of high school, and I had already in my mind picked the school I was going to go to, and it was not Boston College. And I remember being on campus and staying with you that weekend. And in my 16-year-old self, I remember thinking, like, you not only were the incredible basketball player that you are, and the trajectory of growth and opportunity that I I saw and success that you would have in college basketball, but you opened my eyes to a world outside of just playing basketball, and how you were involved so much within Boston College as a university. You were involved in other groups. You were so focused on school and getting a great education. You were so passionate about building relationships with people outside of just the basketball world. And I think when I saw myself of who I wanted to be, that was really something that I didn't realize before then that I really wanted out of a college experience. And so to speak on that end, what was it that made you want to have that full experience, not just the playing basketball, but also the overall education, community, and everything that you could get out of being a student athlete?
First of all, what a compliment. Thank you. That's so
Oh,
meaningful to
of
hear.
course. Yeah.
I attribute a lot of that to my upbringing, my family, and like, yes, sports was really important to me. Basketball was becoming really important to me. And also, coming from a family that was large. Also, my parents had passed away when we were younger, my mom when I was 9, and then my dad right before my freshman year. And experiencing that loss, and I was really still wrestling with that and my time at BC, but the support from then my aunt, who I call my mom, my cousins who are my brothers now, like that really like strong bond and like showing up for one another and just feeling the importance of like it's really the human part of everything that is just so valuable and important. And that was like amplified as I was heading to BC. As I was sorting through which school I wanted to go to, I knew I wanted to be close to home. The idea of being home quickly for Christmas was always really appealing to me. And I think being close to family was important to me. I enjoyed my schoolwork as a high schooler as well. So I knew I wanted to go to a place where I could get a great education. Also, if I got injured, like what would happen if either I got injured or basketball didn't work out? Like, how could I still be a full person? And I think that was something that was really encouraged by my family. Like, how are you a full person even though this is something that you do? And it was nice to feel that from the women who were on the team already when I went on my visit, and I would never play with some of them, and they were being so thoughtful and attentive to hoping that I would have a great experience at Boston College, and I was like, "These are the kinds of friends that I wanna have and
Yeah.
the type of experience that I wanna get after," and, you stayed in our dorm, and I was living with lacrosse players, softball players, field hockey players, and you just meet so many interesting people, and so that was really the perfect combination of how can I, yes, be the best athlete that I can be, but also get the most out of this experience, and was glad to have people in my life who could help facilitate those conversations as I was trying to choose where to go.
A lot of people don't know your full story, and you are also just one of the strongest people that I know. And so yeah, people already know how much I appreciate you just from these few conversations. But you were also one of my favorite teammates to play with, not just because I came in as a freshman, you were 2 years older, and playing with you, I did have the opportunity to play with Lena Deldon and growing up, and so getting used to being able just to lob the ball in the center and creating so much space, for me, I was a shooter, so playing with you was so easy for so many reasons. So just thinking of our pick and roll and just having options coming off the screen, like, just
It's my favorite part of playing.
it's it really just, it's like art. It, like, felt like art p playing with you in a way, and I think that we mesh so well. Also, our last names are Shields and Swords, and so there was
It's
always
meant
a
to
good
be.
pl it was truly meant to be. It truly was meant to be, and but you were such a fierce competitor. So as you are one of the nicest people I know, but one of the most competitive people that I know, and I have to tell a story. One of my first, like, welcome to college moments, I don't know if you remember this, but we were in practice and, uh, playing, one of our 3-on-3 drills, and you weren't too happy with how things were going, and I was guarding on the elbow, and I unfortunately was the one that was about to get screened, and you screened me so hard,
No.
and someone may not have called it, and I got knocked out. I was just knocked out, and I was like, "Oh, holy but welcome to college basketball." And so but right after that, you picked me up and we were back to being the sisters and friends that we are laughing about it, but it was I had so much fun playing with you, and, like, some of my greatest, you know, thoughts of playing college basketball have you in it, and so, are there any moments from college that really stick out to you of, you know, moments, memories, whatever it is?
First
Yeah.
of all, so sorry.
I
I
know.
was like, "I
So
don't believe it's hazing," and
I
here I
know.
am, like, knocking you over. So sorry, I was seeing
No,
red.
it was
No, I agree. It's a mutual feeling. I think there's a lot of magic that can happen on the court between a guard and their post, and what's very fun is when you create problems for the other team. And so we're gonna set a screen. I'm gonna do my best to set a good one for you, and then they're gonna have to pick which one of us is not gonna score. Really, like that, and that's a fun situation to be in on the floor. Really, one of my favorite parts of playing is that the strategy, the studying the game, understanding who you're playing against, and how can we expose them? How can we take advantage of their weaknesses while we're trying to solve for their strengths? And it's really fun when, as a team and as teammates, you develop this understanding and chemistry with one another where you're both sort of in that flow state together and you
yeah.
know each other well enough to be able to read one another. And I got used to like, okay, this is when I'm going to be ready to get a pass from Kerri, and it's going to be like where my hand is, and it's going to be, where I need it to be, and or I know when I need to be ready to rebound. And that's like the magic of basketball and sports in general. I think those moments where we as a team, my junior year, your freshman year, we introduced some new defenses that we had never done before to play against teams like Duke and North Carolina, who you always chase, but you're never expected to beat. And, at that time, like our zone was so solid. We introduced a box and one and a triangle and two. And the way that we worked together in the midst of chaos to then upset both of those teams like within the same week felt unbelievable. And it was like, yes, the win is great and you take down these iconic teams, but it was also like the work that led to that. And that's what I love about both sports. I try to replicate that in my work life. Is there an opportunity to work as a team to really strategize and solve hard problems together and build that trust where you become more than the sum of your parts? That's where the magic happens.
No, 100%, and this is really just bringing me back. I wanna get on the court and play with you again.
I'm very
But
retired. I'm
yeah,
sorry to
yeah.
say.
Well, I was hoping to announce you're coming out of you've done it once, we could do it again. So
We're gonna need to find a knee brace or something.
yes. And so, but playing with you when you were a senior, I think everyone knew that there was a clear path of you going to the WNBA. You were an All-American, one of the most consistent players in college basketball at the time. And did you always think that that path would lead you to being in the WNBA? And what might people not understand about the transition from college to pro sports?
This is a great question.
Yeah.
I'd say I didn't always know that that was my path, but I knew that it was a possibility because the league was established in 1997. That was their inaugural season. And I was, I think, just starting to play basketball. So from a very young age, that was a possibility and a pathway. And women's basketball was just exploding because our Olympic team had just won the gold. That was incredible. And then this professional league was starting. So I don't know if I knew then that that was what I was trying to do, but it was just great to see these tall, strong, legendary women playing a game that I also loved to play. I think along the way, I was always focused on the next goal, like, oh, I want to make the middle school team. I didn't make it in seventh grade and then came back
What?
and made it in eighth grade. Well, I was the tallest and I wasn't
Uh-huh.
the best. I was good, but
Yeah.
there were other people who deserved that spot more than I did, and it actually helped me be like, "Okay, I'm gonna learn to shoot a layup with my right hand." I'm left-handed, and I'm gonna work on these skills, and sometimes the things that you don't get set you up for, like, "Okay, how can I adapt from here on out?" And that was so then coming back, making it in 8th grade and seeing like that was something that I wanted, and that led to AAU, etcetera. I think it was after my freshman year at BC, after a year with Coach Inglis, who was a legend for her prep and scouting and teaching the knowledge of the game and the analysis. The experience of playing got so much more interesting to me because we were scouting and watching film and working on like how I can improve, but then how can we anticipate what the opponent is doing. I got to start and play my entire career because they needed a center, so you're learning while doing, and that was challenging at times when you're just getting
Yeah.
exposed as a freshman
Yeah.
against top players who are on their way to the WNBA, but it was really a thrill, and after that, I decided, like, "Okay, I wanna try to keep playing for as long as I can and see what happens."
And so, could you speak about just your WNBA experience? I know you were on 4 teams, correct me if I'm wrong there.
Mhm.
So, the Chicago, you played for the Liberty, Seattle Storm, and the Aces? Did I get that right?
You did.
That
Yes.
was impressive. Okay, okay. And so, while you were playing in the WNBA, you were also playing overseas. And so, could you speak just to the experience of one, being part of those different organizations, and two, balancing both the WNBA and the professional leagues that you were a part of?
Absolutely. So at the time, and it's really only been in the last few years that we're seeing an evolution of this experience, but most of the WNBA players played in the summers in the league and then went abroad and played somewhere else. And so my first season, I was drafted to Chicago and then was headed off to Spain for my first overseas season. And that was an exceptional experience. I think I had grown up and gone to school close to home, and suddenly I was living far from everybody, and it really tested the limits of my comfort zone, especially when I was in Spain trying to figure out how to unlock my door and grocery shop in another language, and I can't just call home because they're sleeping. Like you you have to kind of like figure it out, and then you see the opportunity of playing in a different country where the style of basketball is maybe a little bit different and you're playing with teammates from all over the world and you're learning new styles of play and then in your maybe limited downtime, the opportunity to explore what's around you. And so it was really a life-changing experience just in building my resilience and confidence, but also those off-season opportunities helped me come back to the WNBA every year just ready to play. My experience in Chicago, I was backup center to Sylvia Fowles, Hall of Famer. It was the best, introduction into how to survive as a post because I had to guard Syl in practice every single day. She owned me every possession. Understandably, she's an Olympian,
Yeah.
like multi-time Olympian at that point and top draft pick. And so I had to learn quickly, like, if I want time and if I want to be successful in this league, I got to figure out how to stop her. And also, like, my playing hard helps get her ready for our games. And so I also appreciated, like, I went to a place where the coaches were great teachers. I learned a ton, and that transition is just really trial by fire. Like, shot clock is shorter, precision goes up. You're now playing against the best of the best in the world, and their level of expertise and experience far exceeds yours. And so adjusting and being open to, like, I'm no longer the most experienced here. You open yourself up to looking a little foolish and making mistakes and taking on new roles and doing the best that you can. And so it was tough. Training camp was hard. It always is. But it was also really exciting to just be like, okay, like here I am and this is it. And I'm gonna try to make this team. And Yeah, I was very fortunate to be in 4 great cities: Chicago, New York, Seattle, Las Vegas, and really part of programs in different eras of their time. New York, it was part of the beginning of the league and historic franchise, and we were getting them back to the playoffs for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
And I was with the Aces in their first 3 seasons where we're trying to introduce a franchise to a city and see what that looks like. And really where I had the best time where when those franchises are really prioritizing player experience. We just heard about this historic CBA that was signed and agreed to and just ratified by the WNBA and the WNBPA Players Association. And it's so monumental because it's recognizing and standardizing among so many other things, but really that player experience comes into play in your ability to then take to the floor and go up against the best in the world.
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people also don't know about you is how instrumental you have been to the WNBA and the WNBPA during your playing
Oh,
time
thank you.
and after. And no, I remember, in gosh, in 2020 when you made a quick retirement and then unretired, that you it was really in the beginning of when players were taking a stand for just the overall player experience within their organizations. So, one, could you explain what your role was with the WNBPA? And two, why was that so important to you and
Sure.
is so important to you?
Yeah, I think, so my time at BC, I was part of our SAC committee, our Student Athlete Advisory Committee. I felt like I wanted to ensure that, yes, we're doing what we need to do on the court, but we have this opportunity to have an impact in the community. I think BC in general does a really great job of that, of giving back to the community, and just wanted to be part of being like a voice of the athlete, essentially, at school. And the equivalent of that and at the pro level is joining the Players Association and the union. And as I learned more about what it meant to be a player rep and what that meant, and really like when basketball is no longer your hobby and it's your job, now we're talking about what are the working conditions that everyone's agreeing to in order for there to be a thrilling but also safe and conducive working environment where players are compensated appropriately for the labor that they're providing. And it's just a different headspace to be in. But I was really excited by those conversations, intrigued by it. The veterans that I had around me throughout my entire career: Swin Cash, Ruth Riley, Tisha Penichero, iconic athletes, and they were exceptionally invested in the player experience, taking care of like what is it that we need as athletes? How do we push for continued investment and advancement? Yes, like from a salary perspective, but also like your player experience. And so when I had the opportunity to join the executive committee, I was thrilled. And we were in the time of negotiating the last CBA, the one that was signed in 2020, and really just being able to relate to my fellow players, understand all of our concerns across, at that time, 144 players. It's great that
Yeah.
now with expansion we have more.
Yeah.
And how can we take those concerns and turn them into actionable and tangible benefits that then ensure the growth and trajectory of the league, a premium player experience day to day, because those little things like how you fly and do you get your own hotel room and what's our medical staff support also make a difference in how you're ready to show up and do what the league and the teams are asking of athletes to be at their best. So it's meaningful because really like my career was possible from the women who established the league and fought for my ability to then be able to play, and being able to carry that torch for a while and
Yeah.
also make sure that, okay, we're going to try to set up and NECA's call at that time, Bet on Women, like this is a good business decision, like let's bet on it. And it's incredible to see how the current players association and current players, how invested they've been, how transformational this deal is. And it's like credit to the hard work and dedication that they've had and really like the whole legacy of the W. And I'm just like thrilled that this is really the state of basketball right now. It's been such good news.
Ugh, that's incredible. And you have really been a part of all sides of the overall experience for not just the W, but in professional and college sports as a whole. You retired, went to work for the front office for the Aces. You then unretired after they asked you to. It's so crazy to even say. You
It is
unretired and then
crazy.
were a crucial part of the 2020 Las Vegas Aces team that made it to the championship
Thank
against
you.
Seattle. It was a highlight of my time in lockdown is what was watching you on my screen. And so, could you speak to just having seen all of these sides? What makes for a great experience for fans versus players, and where do those overlap?
Oh, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of overlap in general because everybody wants to feel seen and taken care of. And you've all gotten to that moment through some element of, this might seem like an extreme word, but like sacrifice. Like
Yeah.
as a fan, you've paid money for a ticket and maybe a flight and childcare or whatever else to be at this place and be part of this event, which is once in a lifetime. And no event is going to happen exactly that way, even if it's a regular season game. And athletes have this is the culmination of like their lives and careers to be available to be on that team and play in that moment. And so to have a peak experience, be able to play your best, show up and compete, all the things that you try to control for as a player, if those are helped from whoever's in charge or facilitating, like what are the facilities, what's the locker room like, how are we traveling there, what's the food that's available, what are my meals, and same from a viewer and a fan's point of view, like how frictionless is my travel, is it difficult to get from the airport to the arena, where am I staying, what's the pricing of all of this. I think when teams and brands are able to create a premium experience for everyone involved, that leads to these explosive moments where it's more than just a game. It's really like a cultural event and an opportunity to have a lot of connection from athletes to fans and really across the industry. So these little things make a big difference, I think, for everybody.
Totally. And we at Playeasy in the sports tourism and event space, and we have been active participants in sports tourism for most of our lives. When you spoke on going to your first national event and having pins, that was like such a what a highlight of our teenage years were
I think I
those
still have
pins
that
at that
somewhere. Yeah.
on your lanyards. Just let us go back. But it was a lot about just the overall event experience. And so, did you notice differences in how cities, venues, or organizations have showed up for games and really made that event experience better than the rest?
Yes, I think especially because there was a time before the WNBA necessarily, depending on where you were, was like breaking through in terms of like advertising and awareness and even like broadcasting and programming, where it was easy to find. Like it used to be very difficult to try to tune in to a WNBA game, and you may walk around a city, and unless you're kind of right near the arena, it was difficult to know, like, is there a game happening? And that's, one of the reasons I'm so appreciative to our fans, because there was a time where it almost felt like, wow, I'm so glad that they found us. Like there were just other competing priorities. And I think the recent investment, but also partnerships. And I remember being in Las Vegas where then you could drive by the arena and they had our logo on the side of the building. And that felt pretty iconic, and now that's like a given. I can be on the subway and see, ads for Unrivaled and the upcoming, Liberty season, and people are in the gear, and so that ability to see and like have the visual is huge. And I think with the increase in broadcast as well, and it's easier to tune into the games. One of the beauties of the 2020 season was how available the game was to watch. My family even said they're like, that's the easiest we've had, being able to tune in and see, like, we turn on the TV every other day because that's how often we were playing.
So
Like, we're watching you every other day on ESPN and it's easy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all those things make a difference. It's less about needing to be in the know and more about like, this is what's happening, and you can feel the presence of the team, or whether it's All-Star or when Unrivaled has traveled, like you can feel their presence kind of descend on the city, and that creates this really electric moment for players and fans.
Yeah. And is there any specific, I know I've used this example a bunch when we talk about small gestures or imprints in an experience I had being an athlete that sticks out in my mind, and I talk about the chocolate that we that we would look forward to every year in the ACC. It's so small. We both
Yeah.
really appreciate small, thoughtful gestures, but it really did. It was something that we always looked forward to, and just overall the hospitality that we had every year going to that event. And so, from your perspective, is there any anecdotal memory that you have from an event that you were a part of that really stood out?
Oh man, that's a great question. That is a good example because it also felt like the entire hotel was rooting for us and like behind our success, and those little things just sort of acknowledge like you're not just a number staying in a room, like you're a
Yeah.
team who's here to do something. I think my experiences in both New York and Las Vegas were like premium experiences as an athlete, and even something as simple as like how is your locker room? And when you walk in, just like my jersey's hanging and everything I need is there. And in the other room, there's the food that I need that's set up. And it feels like coming into work, there's this excitement around it. It's not just
Yeah.
like you're kind of clocking in. You
Yeah.
get to appreciate the moment. And, I played
Yeah.
for the Liberty when we were playing at MSG. And so you're walking into this iconic sports venue, and feeling that reflected back to you was incredible. And it felt like, okay, like I feel really supported in this, and I can focus on what's the scouting report? What do I need to be ready to do in order to, help the team win? And the opportunity to also connect beyond, you know, our experience as athletes. So whether that was to other events happening through other partners, the opportunity to explore maybe like what might life look like after basketball, and feeling supported in my post basketball transition, like all those things really matter as an athlete. But feeling like we're taking the game in front of us seriously, and this matters, and I feel calm and supported was, helpful to then be able to head into the game ready to go.
Awesome. I love it. And so, not only so once your playing career was done, you also worked a few years at Nike. So you have been a part of some incredible organizations. What separated the best environments from the rest?
Oh my gosh, what a great question.
It's my job, Carolyn. It's
Right at it. I I think that the people matter a lot. I think that leadership style matters. I think expectations around team culture matter, and that's both as an athlete and then what I've experienced in corporate. And like, what are our roles? What are our expectations? Do we trust one another? How do we hold each other accountable? And in those situations, both in the WNBA and at an industry leader like Nike, we're going to be asking the most of ourselves and pushing the hardest to try to do something that's never been done before and win. And in order to do that, you have to risk a lot, both personally and as a group. And so, how are you building connection and trust with your team and staying disciplined, but also open to possibility and creativity? And that's what I've loved about both of those experiences. It was really a nice discovery that being in the product world, it felt like being back on a team. scouting the next problem and highlighting individual strengths and building enough trust that people could be vulnerable and take risks and feeling supported by the rest of, the team and the business. So I do think that a lot of these other elements matter, and how you lead and the type of environment that you're creating for the people is also exceptionally important.
That was an even better answer, Carolyn. And I do, just to for people to know just a bit about your experience with Nike. I mean, I think it's also you've just so many cool moments within your professional career. But can you speak to just some of those athletes, musicians that you worked with, and how you are involved with the product side of Nike?
Yes, absolutely. I was a product line manager at Nike in footwear. I worked first in Nike by You, which many may know nostalgically as Nike ID, and then also on the women's sport and training team, and really focused on women's basketball. So my first project was leading the team and on the product team that brought to life Sabrina's Nike by You, the Sabrina 1 and Sabrina 2. And then we also did Megan Thee Stallion's Air Max 97 and Nike by You, which was incredible. And then was part of the larger team who managed Asia Wilson's signature shoe. And that was such a fun reunion after having played together, and being able to bring her vision to life was an exceptional opportunity, and such a fun time. Um, as product manager, my job was to, yes, help facilitate what the whole team is doing, but also to really champion the athlete and consumer voice. And so I had an opportunity for a lot of connection with our athletes, but also for consumers. And it was very fun to be able to bring that inspiration back to the team and see the incredible things that our designers then could come up with. And it's an unbelievable feeling then when someone's walking around in a shoe that your team has worked on, and for athletes and influencers, but to feel, seen and appreciated and see their vision come to life. It was a very unique opportunity, and a really fun way to stay connected to the sports world was through product, and doing so in a team environment was just such a fun time.
Oh, gosh, and I was thinking of what stood out. Like, if you were telling me 10 years ago, what would Carolyn get into post WNBA? And you are so relationship driven and so trustworthy. And you can tell that, anyone who's lucky enough to spend a lot of time with you really trusts you and your vision. And so for you to be a big part in some of those monumental shoe releases, sneaker releases, and just in the women's sports world in general, I mean, it's easy to see how you fit perfectly within that role. So
Thank
just
you.
really, really cool. I,
Thank you.
I know I mean, you're dropping so many names, but it's easy to see why all of these people trust you. And so we are heading into the women's final four, which is we spent
Yes.
last year's final four together, which was
Oh, that's right.
such a blast, such a good time. What excites you most about where the game is right now?
I am thrilled at the state of basketball. I think when, we signed the 2020 agreement and I retired twice very shortly after.
Yeah.
And, we were setting the stage for what we hoped would one day feel like what we knew women's basketball to be. And it's been phenomenal to see how quickly this time has come. I think it's so exciting that we have the news of this transformational agreement that the players have fought for. And now heading into the Final Four, seniors who are going to be drafted, athletes who are going to be drafted into this new world and state of the business of the W. It's such such an exciting time, and I've loved the level of investment and attention and excitement that's happening at both the college level and the professional level. I think last year in Tampa, we just experienced how widespread the energy was across the city. This was really a huge women's basketball moment, and these players in college are playing exceptionally at such a high level, creating so much excitement on the court and bringing such a following with them to have that excitement both in the arena and then on TV if you're watching at home. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a really exciting time. And this is such a fast road from, March Madness to then the start of the WNBA season, but it's one of the best times of year for that very reason. We just get to talk about women's basketball so much in this time.
Totally. And it's hard to explain to people. It almost felt surreal being at the Final Four the last 2 years and seeing just the excitement and energy around women's sports. It's just how much it's transformed in our time of playing and since your retirement has just been such a cool thing to witness and be a part of just the women's sports world in general. And so where do you think the WNBA and college games still have the biggest opportunity?
Oh, great question. I have loved seeing how teams and leagues, and like the start of new leagues like Athletes Unlimited and Unrivaled I've found success and opportunity in thinking really creatively about how to produce and broadcast their product. And
Sure.
I think when you are breaking down sort of what have we always done and then what can we possibly do, that's where the magic happens. And I think we've seen teams get more creative with their partnerships as we've seen investment and excitement from other industries who maybe haven't traditionally been a part of, the sports business,
Well,
but there's a lot of crossover in both like the sport itself and culture. I think our athletes are really like trend leaders. Often what they are,
totally.
as we're seeing, like saying about what's needed in society and their community, but also what they're wearing and thinking and curating, like they're leading us. And if leagues and teams and brands can follow and really be open to thinking about how they're showing up at events and in seasons differently, I think that's where we can create something that maybe has looked like we've never seen before. But and I've seen how like doing something you've never done before is where the magic happens. So I'm pumped that there is this investment that's really been confirmed in the athletes and the business itself, and there's an opportunity to really see where that goes.
I love it. And how do you think that brands and destinations and event operators should be thinking differently because of this moment? For instance, I love Sephora was just is up for an award with Sports Business Journal for one of the best partnerships, and just their brand and being involved in women's sports in general has just been so cool to see as an avid Sephora shopper, but also as someone. One of our pregame rituals, which is also one of my favorite memories of us, was painting our nails because I, when we lived together over winter break, it was a big deal for us. We were in shorts down to our knees and in our basketball uniforms all the time. And we're very girly female athletes that always love to have our nails painted. And so to think that Sephora, such a overall feminine brand, has heavily invested into women's sports, I think has been so cool to see. Seeing Sephora involved in the I think it's gonna create a lot of opportunity and excitement over girls getting more into sports at a younger age, and so that's
Totally.
just one that I think has kind of been at the forefront, but are there any other, um, that you think?
I think that's a great example of, having Sephora or these brands that are also relevant to the players themselves.
Totally.
Players are shopping for their own beauty supplies. They live in the world like all of us. There are
Yeah.
brands that matter to them, and some of the most creative and exciting partnerships have been ones that really make a lot of sense. I think Away partnered with the New York Liberty, and it's like, yes, they travel and you know, like, they make sense, and that's been fun to see some of those partnerships come through. I like when there's maybe your non-traditional sports fan who has something in common with the athletes, and then you're bringing these worlds together. And when a beauty brand partners up with female athletes, you are broadening your definition of what's considered, beautiful and acceptable and something to work toward in this world. And now that includes being strong and aggressive and competitive. And so those types of opportunities of overlap are great. I also think as we see like the craving, continued desire to be in person at events. And really that has become such a almost like, the luxury of were you at the US Open this year?
Yeah.
Did you make it to the Final Four? Were you at that game? The experience is becoming itself its own thing to try to be a part of. And then what does that look like? And I think when you're able to, the US Open's a great example. I think Unrivaled is doing this very well
Yeah.
as well. It's matching premium player experience with really permeating where you are. Like when they've come in to a city, they really take over, that they're there. And at every level, like brands in New York, everybody has a tennis themed display window, whether or not they're a tennis brand or not. And then the brands have an opportunity to show up and the fans feel immersed. And when, as an athlete, you walk around, you're like, oh, what I'm doing here is important. And, everybody is here to see this happen. And so when the event becomes more than just the event itself, but really this sprawling experience and really like a cultural moment that can draw in, to the point where US Open is where celebrities go now. Like that is where you go to be, it's the place to be. And when it can transcend, always an advocate for like the sport itself matters. And when you're
Yeah.
bringing in people from other industries and from other parts of society, it's just such an exciting moment to be in.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, we talked about the Unraveled event a bit. I went to the one in Philadelphia, and I mean, one just the I've never seen that many people at a women's sports event, which was just a crazy experience. But the line to get merch was insane because everyone wanted something to show that they were a part of this historic event. And then not only that, all of the brand activations that were happening across the arena. I mean, you've just never seen that kind of investment in women's sports, and just it makes me want to support some of those brands more as well. And so speaking from your experience on the brand side with Nike, how do you think about building connection with athletes and fans differently?
It's such a great example. Our brand team at Nike as the larger Asia team was launching her signature shoe, the A1, and the Final Four was the third pop-up, and the brand team took over a space, and it became like you stepped into the world of Asia. They did an exceptional job, and there was a station where you could look at the components of the shoe, so really highlighting what our designers had done beautifully and the choices that Asia herself made on the product. But you also got to walk around and learn about how Asia got to be there. Like, how is it that she got to her journey from growing up in South Carolina to then multi-time MVP. I mean, she's won more gold medals and championships and MVPs even since a year ago. So like the opportunity to listen to her book and like also be inspired, and some of the local women's girls basketball teams got a chance to meet Asia briefly, and really walking into this space where you felt like you were truly connecting with your hero. And we had a chance to talk to some of the fans who traveled from pretty far to be able have the opportunity to be one of the first people to purchase a pair of A1s and see how much Asia meant to them. She's an exceptional athlete and incredible human being, and the way that she brings her family and community and thinks about everybody and her fans and really like paves the way for what the future of sports should look like, and doing so creatively in her way is so like what a legacy to to be leaving
Yeah.
and to then interact with those fans who love her for that and feel that and had the opportunity to feel like they're stepping into this world of their favorite athlete was really special. And that shows how a product launch can become more than just, a day of sales. It can really become an immersive experience where you're driving connection and authenticity and really celebrating, your athlete or celebrating the team in such a unique and way with the investment there.
Yep. I love it. I mean, and what an absolute icon. And just knowing her through you seems like just as good of a person as she is a basketball player. And
The
so
best.
it
She's
is.
the best.
Yeah. And was she as involved as you say within that process? I know it was huge just for women's sports in general to have that big of a shoe launch, but could you speak to just how involved she is with that whole process?
Yeah, she has a vision for, who she is and also a great sense of style and what her sense of
Mhm.
style is, and very clear about what she needs on the floor and what she understands other athletes will need on the floor as well. So, each launch of her product is really like that is Asia. That's Asia's voice. Those are her ideas. We heard about how on her apparel, just the lining, the silk lining of the hoodie was something that she brought to the team. And when you have an athlete who has such sharp insight and has a voice and a point of view on how to bring it to life, that's so fun for the product team to design against. And so it really is like her. It is
Yeah.
it is product of her. And so excited and proud of her for like what
Yeah.
what she brought to life. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so to close us out, some personal questions. What has basketball given you that has absolutely nothing to do with basketball?
Oh my gosh. um it's shaped my whole life. I think the resilience and the confidence and the opportunity to learn by doing and courageously think about how I want to be in the world and what I want to do in the world, that came from the opportunity to be brave and take risks on the court and feel support from teammates and coaches and family. And it's a great pun arena, literally, in which you can
Yep.
be learning and growing and challenging yourself, and that translates to the rest of your life. You think of your life in seasons and learn how to set goals and try to pursue them, and whether you end up winning or making the tournament or not, like, the work itself and that journey of who you're becoming is worth it. I think I would otherwise I'd be living a different life, and I think the confidence and relationships and the courage that I've found through basketball has really shaped my life.
I agree. And some of the things you just said, I have come directly from my mouth as well. And so now I'm thinking, did I get them from Carolyn? Probably, probably just quoting you in my daily life. But so we really are sisters. But if you could go back to and talk to your BC self, what would you say?
Oh, man, I I'm really proud of her. I think she overcame a lot, was going through a lot, both, like, on and off the court, and I think I'd just be like, "It's gonna be great. Keep going." Like, keep dreaming big. It's gonna be great. And whatever that ends up being, like, even if it doesn't work out exactly the way that you maybe envisioned, it works out in one way or another, and sometimes better than you could have imagined. And when I think back on that time, I really think about the relationships that I built, both amongst teammates and then roommates, but also throughout the athletic administration, and just how much I grew in that time. And then, like, yes, some of these exceptional moments that we had on the floor, but I don't look back and begrudge anything that, like, maybe didn't happen from that time because, everybody's trying to make the tournament or win a championship, and it's all still it's all still good, and really I'm very pleased with my experience and what I came out of there with.
Awesome. And had the opportunity and I was honored to introduce you at your Hall of Fame with the rising of your jersey at
Oh,
BC, which was just incredible to see the footprint that you left at BC, and not just with your play, but all the people who showed up for the person you are, was just incredible. And I feel so lucky that I was a small part of that journey with you. So I know you are right now. I mean, you just told us before you won a state championship as a coach recently. You're coaching high school. You are also getting into the broadcasting game and just doing a lot as you do as always. But what are you most excited about in this next chapter?
I I really love that every experience I've learned and grown so much. I've had an opportunity to be a leader. I love being connected to sports and the game, and really championing our women's athletes. And so it's been very fun in this time to try new things. It was my first time joining a coaching staff and being able to teach the game, which was, it gets back to the knowledge, which is my favorite part of playing. Has been so fun, and that's been my favorite part of doing the color commentary and broadcasting. Is as a player, I loved being able to analyze what was happening and help the team problem solve in real time. Like, okay, here's what they're doing. This is why this is working. And to be able to do that then for fans tuning in and provide context and tell players' stories has been so fun. So I'm just excited that I'm getting some creative opportunities to stay connected to the game and to sports, and getting a little closer to basketball again. And I'm really just, yeah, open to what that could look like. But it's been a really fun time to creatively think about how to continue growing the game, and showing up for whether it's athletes or women and girls who are in sports, and how to make their dreams come true at the next level as well.
Uh, Carolyn, this has been such a joy. I really said this was just going to be a conversation between sisters, but I we could have a whole other podcast about our college experience, but I know both of us didn't get everything we wanted out of our playing career. But if anything, I truly got a sister for life. And if I could go back and tell my BC self that we'd be just as close as we were then, it's one of the greatest gifts that playing basketball has given me. I'm a better person, a better professional, and a better leader because of you. So I really
Oh my
appreciate you
gosh.
taking taking the time. It's been so. We need to reflect on this, yeah, more because it really, yeah, I feel really honored to know you, and I know that people will get a lot out of this conversation. And so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. I also love that you have a
uh,
podcast and
yeah,
get to highlight stories. Thank you so much for having me, and it's always a joy when I get to chat with you. So thank you. It's been so
uh,
fun.
of course. All right. Thank you, everyone. Until next time. See you soon. Bye.